Hey guys, Luke here, and we are back for another video on the channel. Now for today's video, I'm going to be talking about the fact that I think, well it's not a fact, it's an opinion, but my opinion, I think only 4 teams can win the comp in 2020. Now I know it's a bit of a different comp this year, all of the COVID stuff happening, so there's a lot of different circumstances at play at the moment, like a shortened season, no state of origin, that sort of stuff. So the ladder is probably a lot different to what it would normally be, because a lot of the times we see around Origin time, a lot of teams drop off, some injuries happen, some like big long-term injuries to important players happen, so teams go from contenders to pretenders pretty quickly. Now the closest thing that we've probably seen happen to that is maybe the Raiders. I feel like the Raiders, to start the season, they looked incredible. Now they've dropped off quite a bit. I think that's largely due to the fact they've had quite a bit of injuries. John Bateman was injured for a good part of the season, and Josh Hodgson, who I think is the most important player, he's went down injured. So I could think we can effectively rule out the Raiders of winning the comp. I think they were, they'll definitely compete in the top 8, but in terms of winning the comp, I can't see it happening. Didn't happen last year when they had all of their strong players, and I think they're a bit weaker this year. So I can't see it happening. Maybe next year. They're the sort of team that I can see pushing on next year. Generally, teams who make the grand final, the next season, they don't play that well, and they usually drop off quite a bit. So unless you're like the Storm or the Roosters, you generally don't make back-to-back sort of grand finals, and I can't see the Raiders doing that. So I'm just kind of ruling out the Raiders at the moment. Got teams like Sharks and that sort of stuff, they definitely have potential to mix it up with those top teams, but I feel like when it comes to finals times, they just won't be able to match it with them. Now the top 4 teams that I'm talking about, first off, I'll say the Roosters. I think the Roosters have dropped off quite a bit, but every year that they've won the comp, the last 2 years, they have that sort of mid-season slump, and that seems to be it. But when I say mid-season slump, end of the day, they still win. So in the previous seasons, they've been resting players. They've just dropped Kyle Flanagan, brought in Lachlan Lamb, and he did an okay job. I think the biggest difference for the Roosters this year is I don't think it's a case of resting players. I think it's a case of players are actually injured. We've seen Radley's out for the season. The Morris boys is kind of in and out of the side with injuries, which is kind of something that has kind of summed up their last few seasons. Brett was quite good for the Roosters, but Josh is kind of in and out, has lots of knee injuries and that sort of stuff. And, they're getting older, so injuries are going to happen. But I feel like the Roosters, they can definitely compete. They can definitely win the comp as long as Tedesco and Kiri are there. The players around them doesn't really matter too much. I feel like those guys hold the team together so well. It just obviously helps a lot if you have those other star players around them. But as long as they're there, I think they're definitely a top 4 side and can win the Premiership on any given day. We saw Luke Keary single-handedly destroy Melbourne. Maybe single-handedly is not the right word, but he ripped them to shreds. He was so good in the grand final a couple of seasons ago. He's such a good player in general, and he's also a big moment player. He's very, very clutch. I just really, really rate Luke Keary. And Tedesco's Tedesco. He's so good. Add in other players around them, and the Roosters are always going to be a force. Now, moving on, I think the Parramatta Eels are a chance. I feel like they're also in the same boat as the Roosters at the moment in terms of they're not playing very well. Brad Arthur's come out and said, I think the morale in the locker room isn't great and that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, they're getting results. And they're in amongst the top 4. I think they're in at second at the moment. And they just had a win against the Sharks, which the Sharks are playing quite well at the moment as well. So that was a good test for them. Shocking conditions, but they got the job done. What I like about the Parramatta side is they're winning, and it's not off the back of Sevo scoring a whole bunch of tries, and Ferguson not even scoring tries. But in the past for the Eels, it was pass to Radradra, pass it to Sevo, that sort of stuff. Whereas now I feel like their forwards are really good. They're back to strong. Michael Jennings he's been outstanding for them. What a signing he's been. At one point, I was like, wow, Michael Jennings so past it. But he's so good. He's really good in defence. And I think he's a good leader for the side. But I think Mitchell Moses, Dylan Brown is a good halves combo. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Mitchell Moses. I definitely don't think he's as good as what a lot of the pundits, media say he is. But I feel like he's good enough. And Dylan Brown, I feel like Dylan Brown is the star of the show out of those two. He is outstanding, Dylan Brown. For a youngster, he's so good. And he's definitely shown why teams like the Warriors were so keen to sign him. I mean, the Warriors got in the shit for trying to poach him when he was still under contract. So there's a lot of controversy about him before he'd even played a game of first grade. And you can see why. He is so good. He's cool, calm, collected. The only problem I have with the Eels side is the lack of finals experience. I mean, I was talking about Mitchell Moses. He's the star, you would say. He's the halfback. But I don't even think he's played a finals game. So that probably goes for a lot of their team haven't played finals games or haven't played in quite some time. But I mean, they're one of those sides that are so entertaining and so good in attack that I can see on any day that they can definitely beat. They can beat any side, essentially, is what I'm saying. It's just a matter of whether they can put it together. And I feel like they might be saving themselves for a run at the back end of the season. We've seen, like I said, the Roosters, rest them players and trying to time their run so they peak in the finals. And I feel like that's what Eels are trying to do. Whether they can do that, I'm not sure, but I think they're going the right tactic if that's what they're trying to do. Next up, I'm going to be talking about the Penrith Panthers. Now, I think they're easily the form team of the comp. They are so good, so good at the moment. They just beat the Raiders very, very convincingly. There's just something about their side. There's so much unity with their side. They're all on TikTok together. Nathan Cleary especially. But they're all on TikTok together. They're always looking like they're having fun. And I think you can see with teams who have won in the past, they all have like a strong bond. There's always something there that's just a little bit more than just, we just play football together. There's something there, and there's definitely something at the Panthers. There's a good culture at the moment. There's good vibes at the club. And just watch any interview or try celebrations or anything. You can just tell there's no tension. Everything's rosy for them. Which in past seasons, I feel like there's always been a little bit of disharmony. A few off-season, pre-season sort of things happening where players getting in trouble. I know it happened with Cleary, but that was just like a TikTok thing. It wasn't like, like a criminal investigation or something like that, which disrupts the season. Even in terms of Maloney and Cleary, they never really gelled, whereas I think Luai and Cleary have gelled excellently. I feel like Matt Burton, they've got good depth as well, so if players are to go down injured, they can just shove someone straight in, because at the end of the day, they've been the champions of reserve grade and under 20s for years and years now. So usually the guys who can come in, they can do a pretty good job. And guys who have been around for quite a while, they've now got that experience that they needed. Guys like Isaiah Yeo and Fisher Harris and that sort of stuff, we always knew they were pretty good, but now they're really taking it to the next level, because now they're hitting those peak years. They're not just the 21, 22-year-old kid now. They're starting to hit their peak. And even like Nathan Cleary, very, very young, but I think this is his 5th season. So I feel like they've got a good mix. And also the guys who are new they're really playing well. Like Stephen Crichton, he's instantly gone into one of the top centers of the game. Be interesting to see how his career goes, because sky's the limit for him. He is so bloody good, so talented, and almost doesn't even look like he tries it hard. I feel like he's naturally that good. So freaking good. Absolutely love him. But anyways, I think the Panthers are the form team at the moment. It's just a matter of whether they can hold that form and kind of not be like a flash in the pan. They definitely need to peak in the finals, but it's just have they peaked too soon? Are they going to drop off? An injury's going to happen. But look, if the grand finals tomorrow, I'll put my money on Penrith. They are looking so good at the moment. And finally, moving on to the last team that I think can win it, it's the Melbourne Storm. Every year, I look at this Storm team and I say, yep, this is the year they drop off. And I feel like I've said that so many times in videos. Usually, or the season previews, I'm like, yeah, Storm, they're going to drop off quite a bit. And it just never happens. Even now, they just decimated the Bulldogs. I just watched the highlight to that. Couldn't watch it because I was at work. And thank God, I would have been screaming at telly. Their side is just so solid all the way around the park. Even when you take out Cameron Smith, they look good, which is kind of scary going forward. Because I feel like a lot of NRL fans, we've been looking at the Storm and going, a couple more years, we'll get through the Slater era, the Cronk era, Smith era, and then Storm, they'll be gone. We can write them off, but they've definitely built this club well. Pappenhausen is doing amazing. He's so good. For a guy who was 3rd string at one point, incredible. He's incredible. And the fact that he'll probably never play Origin says a lot about the New South Wales fullback stocks at the moment, but he's so good. Jerome Hughes has really stepped into that halfback role. I never thought he would look like an actual halfback. I thought he'd always be a fullback playing halfback, but the more you see him, the more he actually looks like a halfback. So maybe it's the Storm. They can manufacture halfbacks. I don't know. Maybe it is them. Or maybe it's the fact that Cameron Munster makes him look good. I don't know. Cameron Munster, he's someone who I feel like he does some shit things, but he's just so naturally good, and he's just a winner. He is a winner. Then you add in Cameron Smith and, the Bromwich boys and all the other guys. Brandon Smith, in fact, he's on the bench. Well, he's been starting at prop, and now he's getting an opportunity at hooker. He's such a good player. Interesting to see what happens with him, considering the Harry Grant deal and Cameron Smith, and see whether they retire or not. But yeah, the Melbourne Storm, you can never write them off, which is what I've seen to do every season. But they look so good, and they look like they're hitting form at the right time. Getting to the back end of the season, and the Storm are actually showing they could definitely be a force. And they've got experience in finals too, which I think will help them a lot. Obviously not as much experience as in the past, but they have winners in their side, and they've got the experience in the right areas, I think. So, yeah, I can see Storm definitely matching it with the top boys. And I feel like if they can just get themselves into those high-pressure elimination games, I feel like some teams will crumble. That's where I worry for teams like the Eels and even Panthers. Not a lot of final experience, and I can see them crumbling under the pressure. Whereas the Storm, I think they'll be A-OK. Craig Bellamy, the coach, still Cameron Smith there, barring injuries and that. I think the Storm will be in amongst it, and I would not be shocked if they won the Premiership this year. It'd just be typical Melbourne Storm. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on the NRL in 2020. I feel like only 4 teams can win it. Storm, Panthers, Eels, and Roosters. Leave in the comment section below. Is there anyone else I'm missing? Do you think another team can win the Premiership, or am I pretty spot on with it? Who do you think is actually going to win the Premiership in 2020? Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to wrap up the video. If you did happen to enjoy it, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell, let you know when I upload, because it's not like YouTube back in the day. It's pretty important. You need to have the notifications on, otherwise you might not even know I've uploaded. Also, give me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT on most things, but on Facebook, it's Mr. Luke. So just give me a follow on that. And yeah, that's all I got to say, really. I'll see you in the next video, guys. See yous.